So that we get out of the idea of perfection and we get out of the idea that it has to be right. So you can just vomit all over the page and let it be messy for that first draft. And then
hello, and welcome to the Storyteller's Mission with Zena Dell Lowe, a podcast for artists and storytellers about changing the world for the better through story.
So you're going to find, if you continue to listen to my podcast, you'll find that the whole thing, I'm starting out the whole thing. Okay, why are Christians afraid to tell R-rated stories? That's what we need. We need R-rated stories. But what does that mean for Christians? Because there's so much fear. So I want to liberate you from the trappings of Christianity without having you violate Christianity. You'll find that people have a very visceral reaction to my content. People either really resonate with it or they really hate it. So I've always been one of those people that ruffle feathers, but my heart's in the right place. And I think I'm right. So good. Ruffle those feathers. I think people move to long form projects too quickly. And the truth is, where the work of learning the craft comes in, it's in scenes. If you can't write a great scene or a great sequence, which is, basically several scenes that make one basic thing, but it's still shorter, then you will never be able to complete a long form project. And long form projects put so much pressure on you. And what if it's not even good? And one of the things that I really like about scenes, like the prompts, what I like about prompts is it takes the pressure off you to have solved all the problems and you get to just experiment. And I think that's missing a lot of times when we're starting off. We're really trying to find that one project or that great screenplay and idea and that sort of thing. And so the playfulness goes away. But sometimes it's in that playfulness that you'll stumble across something that ends up being your gem. It ends up being the thing that is just so great. But it's because you weren't putting any pressure on yourself. You got to play. So I think the play gets lost in screenplay sometimes. So I hope that will also be a habit as you sit down to write. You'll never get it, quote, right in the first draft. Like I remember early on, I heard feedback from you guys like, oh, I won't make those mistakes again, or sorry, I did it wrong. And I was trying to say, no, you did it perfect. This is the work that we do for the second draft. So you actually did the first draft perfectly. It's exactly how it should be. Now we go back and we do the rewrite, which is the work of the rewrite, so that we get out of the idea of perfection and we get out of the idea that it has to be right. So you can just vomit all over the page and let it be messy for that first draft and then figure out what to keep and what to throw away and how to hone it and how to fix it and how to craft it. That's the fun part. It's okay to not get it exactly right the first time. In fact, you shouldn't. You can't. It's impossible. So don't try that. See what can be improved for the second draft, and just reframing that is often very freeing. There's a lot of different structures for writing groups, but I have found that the ideal writing group size is 4. And the reason I found that is because I find it to be the most efficient and effective in terms of the material that's covered, because every person gets 1 week in a month. So you meet 4 times, and Matthew presents on the first Monday of every month. And then you've got the next guy, the second, and then everybody else, they have to read your stuff. And that's why, like, the way I've structured it in the writers group rules that I've written up are like, you turn it in on Sunday by midnight, and then you have the meeting on Tuesday. So that gives people that much time to read your material and be ready to give you feedback. So they read it in advance. There's a lot of writers groups where you read it when you get there. I don't find those to be as effective because you can only get through a few pages. So, and I do think there should be a page limit. So I usually say, 10 to 15 pages is all you would turn in at a time, or a chapter if you were writing a book, or 15 pages in a screenplay or something like that. But it helps to continue. And here's the other thing that helps. It gives you a deadline. Notice you wouldn't have written any of the scenes that you wrote for this class without a deadline. Deadlines is what makes us do shit. It just is. We can't, I don't know why. It's just, what's the saying? A goal without a deadline is a pipe dream. And it just is. A goal without a deadline is a pipe dream. And here's the thing. This is also why having a writer's group out of, say, a class like this would be really helpful, because you guys all had the same training under me. And so, I mean, granted, it's just this one class, but nevertheless, you've learned a lot of the principles that I would teach. And so you have the same language now. You'll be looking for the same things. You've been trained in the same way. So you'll be of more value to each other. You won't be coming at it from a different, everybody with a different philosophy or a different way of doing things. Even the feedback sessions, like we did the thing where it's like, okay, let's start with the things we liked. And now what are the things that could use improvement, and phrasing it in a way that makes it helpful for the person rather than harmful. We are fragile artists. And again, here's the other reason. When you are in a class like this, where it's elevating your craft, I hope, now there's more of a desire to impress. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but you don't want to waste your fellow artists' time, because now you hopefully value them as artists and you see that they actually have merit. And so you're less likely to waste their time, and you want to contribute. And so it holds you to a higher caliber of art than, say, if you start a writer's group with a bunch of yahoos that you haven't met, and you haven't seen their work, and you don't know what they bring to the table. And so you're kind of testing that out for a while, blah, blah, blah. And maybe you're just not as motivated. Maybe you don't like how they write, and you're just not as motivated to really give them any, to really be invested, and now you don't take it very seriously. So the idea is that if you could, I would encourage you guys to keep meeting. But if you did that, I think it would behoove you. People need writing groups. I need a writing group.
Thank you for listening to The Storyteller's Mission with Zena Dell Lowe. May you go forth inspired to change the world for the better through story.